Are you filled with fear, doubt, worry about the future of our country? Do you feel the urgency to act before it's too late? If yes, then this podcast is for you. It's time for us to confront the critical issues threatening our nation's fabric, our democracy itself, regardless of our political stance. If you are ready to face reality, handle the tough questions, and find real solutions, then here's your host, Debilyn Molineaux.
Welcome to the Terrified Nation podcast. I'm your host, Debilyn Molineaux. Can we save it? Our nation, that is. Well, that's what we're exploring in this podcast series. And for me, the answer is yes. Yes, we can. And we must. Now, this show is where we explore alternatives to being afraid, to being angry or outraged, and to feeling hopeless. We answer the question, what now? And we interview guests who have gone from being afraid or angry or hopeless to become advocates for our nation so we can live into the promise of our founders, each one of us dedicating ourselves to a better and brighter future. And I do like to start each show with a question that we'll explore together. And today's question is, if you were out in the wilderness of North Dakota, all right, maybe not quite a wilderness, what would you find to do to stay busy? And joining us today to answer this question and share a little bit about her future vision is Lynnell Popowski. Did I say that right, Lynnell?
You did.
All right. And Lynnell lives on a farm, or you have lived on a farm, which, let's get this right.
So I've lived on a farm my whole life. I grew up across the river in Minnesota. And now I live on a farm in North Dakota, just outside of a little town called Warsaw. And I only moved about 3 miles as the crow flies across the river. But yeah, when I was younger, I told my father, I'm never going to live around here. And he said, oh, honey, write that down on something that tastes good.
So you're eating crow a little bit on that one.
I am. Yes, I am.
Here you
But
are.
I'm happy to be here, and this is where I can make my difference. So
Well, and I just thank you so much. But I really want to note about your career as a sociologist in social work and criminal justice, because you did leave North Dakota before you came back, and you had this illustrious career teaching and really working on leadership programs, which you brought back to North Dakota, of course. You've been part of an alumni association, and you've developed social enterprise to provide low-cost prescription drugs to those in need. And you've led coalitions of mentoring organizations. Like, there's so much in your bio. I can't possibly get it all in a timely way.
my husband always said, I can never explain to anybody what you do for a living. People ask what you do, and he's like, I don't really know.
Well, it sounds to me like you are a professional do-gooder helping others in your community.
That is my goal. I mean, I just want to make a difference and, make things a little easier for somebody.
And you have some education and skills that provide you with ways that you can do that most effectively to have a good impact where you live. Now, you and I met through the Badass Grandmas, as I recall.
Yes.
And as part of that, you also work in democratic politics in a deep red state in North Dakota. So I just want to make sure that people know, you are full of experience and a wide, probably have a lot of friends who voted for Trump.
Yep.
And you're also, trying to create good trouble and help advance and progress our country towards, living into that promise of our founders that I mentioned in the opening.
Right.
Is there anything else that we want to throw in here in your bio before we get to the interview?
Well, I guess I'm a mother, and my daughter is an economist, and her and her husband live in St. Louis. They are international travelers. As a matter of fact, she leaves today for, and I don't know how to say this correctly, is it Qatar?
Qatar?
And she's spending 10 days there for Thanksgiving with friends who are in the service. And, I'm like, yeah, go to the Middle East for Thanksgiving. And so one of the things I'm most proud of is that I'm the mother of an adventurer. And that, I have mentored a brave young woman. And she is just fearless. And so And that took a village. And that's why I moved home, was because the village wasn't working where I was at. And
Right.
my primary job was to raise her first. So
I know so many parents who make the decision to move home to where there is that village to help support and raise kids. And I think sometimes those of us who grew up in the Gen X, like I am, we kind of lost track of like how much family support helps us and helps our kids.
yes, yeah, it was really, I just think it made all the difference. She had two
Mm.
sets of grandparents, and then she had both her parents, and she had aunts and uncles, and, and to just be raised or to go to school in, with a class of 17, what a gift that is,
Yeah.
and we don't, the schools don't have all the technology and all the bells and whistles sometimes, but we have the basics, and we have a really good foundation. So, yeah.
Oh, well, that's such a nice thing to be proud of. And we haven't even started the interview and you're already talking about the questions. So I do want to set up our listeners for just a second here, because what we're going to do is Lynnell's going to go through and participate in the American Future Research Project, where we imagine a future we want for ourselves. And it's not about likely or preferred futures. It's really about what we want. And so the first question is actually, Lynnell, how far into your future do you want to imagine?
I think I want to go 10 years.
10
I
years it
am,
is.
I'm turning 59 in February.
Okay.
So in 10 years, I imagine I'll be getting ready to retire.
All right.
That's my vision of where I'm going to be and what I'm looking for. So,
All right. So here we are. We're going to set the dials for late 2034. And you and I are going to get into this little campy time machine right now. If you want to close your eyes and take a couple of deep breaths. And we're going to whisk ourselves to the future. And when we get there, what I'd ask you to do is just observe your older self. So you can stay yourself and talk about what you're witnessing or observing about your future self that's preparing to retire. And we're pulling here into the 2034 station, and bing, we're here. We're climbing
yes,
out. Can you tell me where we are?
I'd like to be on the farm.
All right. So tell
I
me a
really
little bit.
enjoy.
So tell me a little bit about the farm
Um,
and what
I
has
can go
changed.
outside. I can go outside and hear nothing.
Mm,
There's no traffic. There's no neighbors. I might hear the frogs croaking in the pond or the crickets, or, I mean, there's a whole appreciation of nature that you can have here that I don't experience. I love the city. I love the excitement. I love all the activities, but I don't want to live there. I really like, there's no light pollution. So I get to see all the stars and the moon, and in the wintertime that reflects off the snow, and it gets almost bright at nighttime. So we
and
have neighbors.
is there anything that may have changed in the 10 years? Like as you're observing your older self, what's the same and maybe what's different?
Well, I have one neighbor across the road who is in his mid-40s. Otherwise, all of my neighbors are in their 80s or 70s. So I imagine we're going to be probably the only farm left.
Mm.
I don't know how well they will continue to maintain the roads. That could be an issue.
So in 10 years, in your likely or preferred future, you're seeing more isolation, or do you think
Well,
that maybe some families might move into those farms? What do you
in
want?
my preferred future, I would like there to be more families and for there to be a school bus that goes down the road again, because there's children on the road. And there are yards that are available that people could move, a double wide or a manufactured home in. I just would hate to see it turn into a flood corridor, I mean,
Right.
but
Well, again, we're creating this future for you, and so you get
right.
to look up anything you want here. So let's imagine that you have the school bus driving down your driveway, or driving down the road,
Yep.
if you will, and you have families that have moved into the farms that have been left by your current neighbors in 2024. And so in 2034, you're actually starting to have like a vibrant farming community again.
Right. And the thing is, the farms are so large now, that the folks who would move into here might be working 30 miles away at one of the manufacturing places, or they don't have to be related to farming. They can be enjoying the rural lifestyle, having their kids enjoy a really good school, and enjoying a 30-minute commute on an interstate that isn't packed with cars.
Got
So
it. And talk to me a little bit as you're observing your older self, Lynnell, about, you're living on the farm, you're with your husband's still there, you have these new families in your neighborhood, but what will you be most proud of?
I've been in so many different situations, and it seems like every 5 to 7 years I take on a new project. And it's not like I can stand and say, I made an impact in the field of law, or, in that same way, but I made an impact in people's lives. And that's, that's what matters. And so that would be what I am most proud of, that, that I made a difference. It might not look like a big difference, but it's like the starfish story. It made a difference to that one.
Right. Well, and I want to come back and pull your daughter back in, because it sounds like you're really proud of your daughter and the adventurer that
Yes,
she's become. And if you are starting something new every 5 to 7 years, it sounds like you're an adventurer too, albeit in a slightly different way. And so 10 years from now, you probably are on some new adventure that you don't know what it is yet.
absolutely. I hope that I'm in a position to mentor some young women
Hmm.
and help inspire the next generation of leaders.
So as you're retiring, because you mentioned earlier too that you're probably going to be preparing to retire. So retirement could be your new adventure at that point.
Right, right. But I mean, I expect that, when I retire, I might, take a class I might go back to school, in not like full time, but I take classes now from the Humanities Council.
Mm.
It would be fun to go back and actually, think and think.
Yeah.
And
So,
so,
okay. So what you're proud of is the impact that you've had with other people and some of the work that you've done and how that has accumulated over time and your ability to mentor people. I would say there's something bubbling under the surface here that you haven't said out loud. So like just confirm or deny, if you will, that I also hear some sort of interaction with your neighbors, with the families that have moved into these farms around you, and some sort of activity or community participation,
um,
if you will, that you might have.
I am much more likely to engage a senior citizen than I am
Ah,
a young person
okay.
myself. I'm not one that's going to go to the basketball games or the, stuff like, I just don't, I no.
Well, not if
But
you like quiet.
right, exactly. And I did that when, when it was required of me, but
Right.
I think I'd be more like, the one that they can ride their bike down the road and come visit for a can of pop and a cookie,
Ah, there you go.
or the lady who's got the cats. I have a whole bunch of cats out on the farm. So if you want to go pet the cats, go over to her house and she'll come out and let you pet the cats.
So you're actually fessing up that you're going to be the weird cat lady.
Yes, I already am. Calm down. And then, just to blow the stereotype, I have a little chihuahua that's in the house with me. So I think I'm going to be the safe house
Okay.
for, the kid who thinks he might be gay, for the girl who's been slut shamed at school, those kind of situations.
Right.
I'm able to sniff out trauma in a way that's disturbing to me. But
A lot of
I,
people just call that compassionate empathy, by the way.
okay. But yeah, I can just tell, and um, I just try and make my world a safe space for
Mm.
people.
So I hear that too as being something that you hold dear as you observe your 10-year older self that you're really proud of.
Yes, that I've been very accepting of people, and that I say, I try not to judge people who sin differently than me, and that people are more than the worst thing they ever did.
Right.
And so
Mm.
um, I just have a lot more mercy, I think, than people just need a little grace.
Yeah. Don't we all? I mean, whew, people
And
judge
I
me
just
better.
think, once they experience that and understand that, they're still whole, there's still hope, that's important.
Yeah. Well, let's walk through maybe a typical day in 2034, late 2034 for you. Like,
Okay.
so here you are, you're going to be observing, your 69 or almost 69-year-old self. When you wake up in the morning, like, what do you do? And let's walk through the day. Typical day.
By then, I hope that I'm not waking up to a cigarette and a Mountain Dew, which is what I do now.
Okay.
So I'm
So you
hoping
kick the habit.
Right. I've kicked the habits, and now I have a habit of doing yoga.
Okay. What time do you wake up?
Oh, probably 6. I'm an early riser.
Okay.
I like to get a lot of things done in the morning, and if I want a nap, I like a little nap.
There you go. So we're waking up at 6 o'clock and doing yoga.
Yep. And because, I'm probably going to do it via Zoom because, it's 30 miles to drive to the yoga class. That's silly,
Well, and there's a whole, there's some on YouTube as well, but okay.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure in 10 years, it's going to be, I'll probably be able to holograph them into my living room. So who
Right.
knows?
Exactly. So let's just make it so you're holographing a yoga class into your living room
Yes, I am.
and doing yoga. Then what do you do?
Gosh, I don't know, maybe play a little bit of piano. I
Okay.
took lessons when I was a kid, and during COVID, I picked it up again. So I'd like to, get back into learning pieces again, and
Okay.
not just playing what I've already played, but to actually learn a new piece. And that's something I can do in retirement. And I'm not much of a baker because you have to be so precise, but I am a good cook.
Okay.
Then I can kind of be wild and, and people ask for a recipe and I laugh and laugh because I don't know what I put in there.
I'm
Yeah.
with you on that one. But okay,
Yes.
so
So
you're doing
doing some
yoga and you're
cooking.
practicing in the piano, but you're not baking anything.
No, but I'm probably making some soup
Okay.
and delivering that to the neighbors, because I can't make a little bit of soup. And, it's me and my husband, and he only wants to eat it for a few days. You know how that goes. So
I do.
I like to, that's one of my love languages, is to share food that I've cooked or
All right.
made. And
I'm sure there's going to be so many families that live around you that would appreciate having dinner delivered.
well, and lots of senior citizens because they're still here, and
Right.
I love them too. So,
Whoever needs to. Okay.
that's right. Um, I'm going to be still engaged politically and involved with pro-democracy movements. I'm hopeful that we will be less divided and more centered in our nation by that time.
Again,
And
this is your preferred future. Make it so.
right. And so there will be more compromise. And again, just if we show each other a little grace in the political arena as well, and remember how it is to behave like grown-ups.
So
I think it can be done.
how does this wind into like how you're spending your day? So you're delivering soup to your neighbors and having respectful conversations around politics, or
Yeah, I guess so. And showing love or showing support, compassion for someone who you disagree with. And they know you disagree with them. And yet you're being kind to them.
right.
And then it makes them stop and think, well, maybe I should, what was she saying again? And that's not my motivation.
Right, of
It's
course.
that, and that I have an opportunity to listen to them. And, help me understand how you decided to vote that way. And what made you think that the economy was so bad?
Right. And so
Because
as you're kind of going through your day, you're engaging in these conversations wherever you are as part of your
right,
your democratic even engagement, but not
right,
necessarily with just Democrats.
exactly. Democratic small d,
Right.
or however that goes. That it's just I'm in my preferred future, we are a much more united nation. And that means that when I walk into the local bar, Fox News isn't on the TV. or
Right. Maybe they have sports on.
great, gay, but that's better.
Right.
That would be better. I guess I'd like to see more arts and more support for the arts. And one of the things I also took up during COVID was painting. And so I'd been doing acrylic painting at home, and I'd spend maybe 4 hours on one painting, and that was good. And I was satisfied. And it didn't always have to be lovely. It was the process, And
Yep.
some of them were lovely, but not all of them. But then recently I've taken up oil painting with Parks and Rec. And then I spend 2 months every Tuesday night. And I've really liked that.
Oh,
And
so as we're looking at your older self, are you incorporating painting then into your daily activities?
absolutely.
Maybe a weekly, not a daily activity, but
Right.
yeah.
A couple times a week, I definitely would like to have a studio.
Okay.
Have a room that's just dedicated to that I don't have to worry about spilling on the floor, and there's room for the paintings to dry.
Right.
And so that's something that I could do with younger children or with younger people.
Right.
I would, so maybe I'm teaching an art class
Oh,
where
okay.
everybody gets to be told their art is good.
Right.
Yeah.
And as we're winding down like into the evening, what do your evenings look like in 10 years? What are you observing?
My husband and I play Rummy Cube together in the evenings, and
Okay.
maybe I've talked him into some dice games. um,
I'm working on
and
cards for my guy.
yeah, it's tough with two people. It's really for cards anyway, and less television.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
a
I'm hearing
walk.
some like time together
Right.
interacting.
Maybe a walk in the evening.
Okay.
I think when I'm 10 years older, I will have a treadmill in my house so that I can walk even when it's cold outside. Because now I go, oh, geez, 20
Right.
degrees. So once you get walking, it doesn't stay cold for long, but
It doesn't. I know. Yeah. So we've got you waking up in the morning to yoga, and then you're making some soup, you're practicing the piano, you're engaging with your community either through teaching art classes or delivering the soup, and you're spending some evening time with your husband. Is there anything else that you want to include in like your fairly typical day?
there's got to be some reading and writing time.
Okay.
And I don't know if what that writing is going to look like, and whether it's going to be shared publicly or whether it's something that I just do for myself. But
Okay.
I have been using a planner and journaling, and I'd like to improve more of that. And some of that is reflection that helps me organize my thoughts so I can write a letter to the editor,
Got it.
or I can send out an email to my troops.
Mm,
And so I want to be there to uplift the young people who are going into politics and putting their neck out on the line,
right.
and really, so that I'll be spending some time doing that too.
So yeah, okay. Beautiful. That's lovely. And how do you think that you will feel, or how do you prefer feeling most of the time as you observe your older self?
Content, satisfied. I say that I have something that a lot of people never ever have, and that's enough.
Mm,
I have enough. And so everything from here on out is gravy.
yeah.
And so I just feel like I've been very blessed. And, if you, to whom much is given, much is expected. And so I would like to help reintroduce that idea
Mm,
to our nation, that when you have a lot, you're obliged to share that in ways, give people jobs. It doesn't have to be charity. Sometimes it's best if it's not charity. Be creative.
yeah.
And
Well, I'm reminded of a quote that I just heard over the weekend, and the quote is something like, when you invest financially, you expect a return, but when you invest emotionally, you want to contribute more. And that was attributed to Simon Sinek. Um, And it just is what you're saying is reminding me of this quote of,
Yeah,
of being emotionally invested in your community.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily belong to a town. You know, I live on a farm and the closest town is Warsaw and there's a church, but there's no post office. There's no,
Mm.
and then a little further down the road, there's the school and a cafe and a bar.
Well, how many people live in Warsaw? Or,
Maybe
technically,
50.
right. Okay, so you're
So that's,
very rural.
and then so a little bit further down, then there's probably 400 people in that little town that
Okay,
has the school and the, and so it's a half an hour to the town of 50,000.
got it. Which is where all the grocery stores and things
And
are.
the movie theaters and the,
Yeah,
fancy restaurants and, fancy.
right. You say fancy and I pictured Olive Garden, so.
Yes, oh, we count that too. Yes, we do still, we have an Olive Garden. So I don't want to feel hurried.
Okay,
And I want to feel, yeah, that there is a sense of leisure to I can meander.
got it. Got it. Well, as you're observing your older self still, what can you see are your three, maybe five priority values, or maybe qualities is a better word?
Well, whatever that word, just to give back to the community and repay the investment that they all spent on me and my children or my daughter. And so
I hear reciprocity.
there you go. Creativity,
Mhm.
the painting, the music, the writing, I think that's fairly strong.
Yeah.
Wellness, the
Okay.
yoga, the walking, the soup.
I'm
I
also,
didn't say much about it, but I hope that I get a chance to do some traveling
mm,
and with my daughter and
yeah.
spend some bonding time with her.
So more adventure.
Yes, yes. And sometimes there was a period of time where I felt anxiety over travel, and I
Okay.
had to redefine it as anticipation. I am
Okay.
not anxious, I'm excited.
Right.
It's the same physiological feeling. And you just have to recognize that, no, this is what it feels like to be excited. And so I hope
Well,
I'm able to do that more.
okay. So we're going to travel. So that's part of your values here are adventure, reciprocity, um,
Learning.
health, wellness, learning. The other thing I heard, it's just, and it may be just so subtle that it's just there and doesn't need a word, but I also heard a sense of like, groundedness, like salt of the earth groundedness,
Yes.
just in your way of life.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
It does. It's just the roots.
right,
My roots are here.
right. Yeah, so I
And
just want to like pull that out just a little bit because it's present, even though you didn't say it out loud.
yeah. Yeah. It's good.
Well, we're coming into the home stretch here, and I've got just two questions left for you.
Okay.
So the next to last question is, as you're looking around in the community where you are, where you've got Warsaw that's 50 people and the next town that's 400, and then you've got the bigger town that's 50,000, and you have your road that's got your school bus driving on it, down it, right?
Yeah.
So what does your community need to include or provide so that your preferred future is possible?
There need to be jobs for these
Okay.
families
Yep.
to move home. And then there need to be um, financial incentives for housing.
Okay.
Oftentimes, the housing incentives are easier to use in an urban setting than in a rural setting. And technically, they call us a frontier setting,
Okay.
you know,
Wow.
um,
Not even
right,
rural, but frontier.
frontier.
Okay.
So um, I think there needs to be a greater emphasis on the trades in schools
Okay.
so that we're graduating people who can stay here and work and provide services. We don't have a lot of jobs requiring a PhD around here. We have some, but really need
Yeah.
plumbers and electricians and people to own businesses and start businesses and drive our school buses. So,
Yeah. So a little bit less intellectually. It's not that they're not smart jobs, it's just that they're not people who are paid to think. They're people who
Right.
are paid to do.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And you need more. Yeah. I have a friend who lives in very rural West Virginia, actually, and she talks with me about how when the plumber calls and says, I can be there on Tuesday, she has to rearrange her whole schedule because the plumbers and the electricians drive the schedules because there's not enough of them.
Right. Yeah. And they set their fees
Yeah,
because they're in short supply. And so,
exactly.
but I have truly appreciated my education, and I felt like I've had people, suggest that it was wasted because,
Mm,
I'm not teaching right now. And I said, I'm probably never going to teach again. That's not in my future, I don't think.
right.
And that's okay with me. And I'm really much happier not working at that pace.
Yeah.
And I just, I think sometimes people fail to recognize there's a cost to that. And everything has an opportunity cost. And I like to just be able to sit out in my lawn chair and drink my beer and watch the sun go down and think it's a pretty good life.
Yeah. And have no traffic noises around you.
Right. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
no neighbors' music, no neighbors'
Hmm.
dog, no neighbors.
Yeah.
Um,
When I have visited my friend again in West Virginia, that silence, I still remember the silence
yes.
of it, and it is
And
precious.
yeah. And again, no light pollution.
Hmm.
You'd be surprised. I mean, it's just yeah, I really enjoy and I live on a prairie, so it's big vistas, big skies. You can see for miles. You can watch your dog run away for miles. Uh,
Well, that would give me a little bit of a heart attack, but I get you. But
yeah,
you could see.
yes, you can see him. There he goes. So, but yeah, I want that pace. I want
Hmm.
this, and
Unrushed, you mentioned, and
yes,
leisurely and meandering,
yes, yeah,
all of those things. Yeah. Well, here we are to the last question. And I
okay,
know you're a badass grandma.
yes, I am.
But is there anything that you are doing today or that you might do in the near future that's going to co-create that community to support your preferred future?
Well, I have been organizing with the Democrats in this district, and so that's three counties in one
Mm.
precinct. So I've been making new friends and running in different social circles and changing my leisure activities so that I'll go to a fundraiser instead of the chili cook-off at the bar. So you get a chili cook-off either way, it's just in a different spot. And
Right,
it
right.
accomplishes a different agenda. And I I don't know what else my community could do or what I can do with my community to build that. I work with the Regional Development Commission and I attend the community meetings
Hmm.
for the economic development in our region where I live, which isn't the same one that I work in. And so I support the local businesses.
Well,
Um,
it seems to me that you're probably pretty vocal when you talk about having more trade jobs created where you are and training for those jobs. It seems to me like you're in a position to help that happen.
yeah,
That will help families move back in so you get the school bus down your road.
yes, yeah. And I'm saving money, so I have money to travel with. So, and that's never been an easy thing for me. And
Okay.
so, my daughter, the economist, is helping me.
Something
Yes,
else for you to do with your daughter. That's awesome. Well,
that's
let
right.
me ask you another leading question here. Have you bought a yoga mat yet?
I have 2 yoga mats because I don't like, yes, I like extra cushion. Yes,
Yeah, some of my family have a cushion that's like this thick, that's about an inch thick, that they put their yoga mats on top of.
okay, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I have hardwood floors instead of carpeting, so,
Yeah,
um,
my floors are actually slate, and I didn't think you could
oh
get harder than
my.
hardwood floors. They are harder than hardwood floors.
Ooh, yes, indeed. Um, I
That's
guess
my
I think by working with the badass grandmas and taking classes and reading books and writing letters to the editor. And, I have, with the Badass Grandmas, we've got over 200 people on our email list. I've got a different 200 people with the Democrats in my district. And that's how I can share my gift is just by trying to make sure people understand there's a safe space and there's room for them to say their piece, and that if they need help expressing their piece, I can help them with that, that their voice matters, and that right now it feels dangerous to speak up. In my future, it will feel safe to speak your mind and know that that's okay. You can say that.
Well, Lynnell, we've come to the end, and I'd like to end our interview with an invitation.
Okay.
And so the invitation is to take 5 minutes a day. So maybe in the morning before you get out of bed now, and before you do the bad habits, or before you do the yoga, the good habits.
Yeah.
That you take 5 minutes and you think about your future self and this vision that we've kind of co-created today for you, and feel those feelings of contentment and leisure that you talked about. And then drop in a little bit of awe and wonder. And and like that you have all these things, and I can hear some of it in your voice already. But if we spend 5 minutes a day thinking about this future that we prefer, adding in the awe and wonder, neuroscience is showing us that we will begin to make choices and co-create that future. We will subconsciously choose that future and actions that get us there. 5 minutes a day, that's all it takes. It's really cool.
Excellent.
So that's my invitation to you, is to spend and help co-create your future with a little awe and wonder.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And for those listening to the Terrified Nation podcast, if you would like to participate in this national research project, visit americanfuture.us and click on the Share Your Future Story button. So, Lynnell, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And in closing today's show, I'd like to thank you, the listeners, for giving a damn about our nation. We may be a terrified nation today, but we can do better. We can save the USA. Join me next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Terrified Nation. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to subscribe to the show. You can get advance notice on new episodes and bonus content by signing up. Head over to terrifiednation.com and join us on the next episode.